What if almost everything you have been taught about God is wrong, not slightly off, not just a little misunderstood, completely, upside down, wrong? And here is the scary part. Most people who believe in God, pray to God, and live their whole lives for God still carry a picture of Him in their minds that is nothing like who He actually is. So today, we are going to do something most religious content refuses to do. We are going to tear down the false image and replace it with the real one. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear might be the most important thing you have ever considered about God. And somewhere in this video, there is a truth that is going to hit you like a wave. You will know it when it does. Let us start here. Close your eyes for a second. Actually, do not close your eyes because you need to keep watching. But picture God in your mind right now. What do you see? An old man on a throne? A cosmic judge with a gavel, waiting for you to mess up? A distant force somewhere out in the universe, too busy and too holy to care about your specific, ordinary, sometimes embarrassing little life? Or maybe you see someone who is always disappointed in you, always measuring you, always keeping score. If any of that sounded familiar, here is what I need you to know right now. That is not God. That is a picture we built from fear, from religion, from painful experiences with authority figures, from misread scriptures and misguided theology. The real God is shockingly different, and most people never discover this because they stop looking the moment they think they have figured Him out. So let us go deeper. Here is the first thing most people get completely wrong about God. God is not waiting for you to be good enough. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most radical truths in existence. The entire framework most people use when they think about God is performance-based. We believe, deep in our bones, that love from God is something we have to earn, that His closeness is a reward for good behavior, that His blessing is a paycheck for spiritual effort. So we work harder, we pray more, we try to sin less, we volunteer, donate, show up, perform. And when life falls apart anyway, we assume it means God is punishing us, or that we did not do enough, or that He has turned His face away. But here is what the ancient texts actually say. God is rich in mercy. He does not deal with us as our sins deserve. His compassion is not based on our performance. It is based on His nature. The kindness of God is not a response to your goodness. It is an expression of His own character. Let that breathe for a moment. He is not kind to you because you deserve it. He is kind to you because kindness is who He is. That completely changes everything, does it not? Now here is the second thing, and this one tends to make people uncomfortable. So lean in. God is not religious. I know, that sounds like a contradiction, but follow me. Religion, at its core, is a system of rules designed to manage the distance between humanity and the divine. Religion says, if you perform these rituals, say these words, avoid these behaviors, and subscribe to these beliefs, then maybe, just maybe, you can get a little closer to God. But God is not running a distance management system. One of the most famous stories ever told is about a son who takes his inheritance early, runs away, wastes everything, ends up broke and broken and feeding pigs in a foreign land. At his absolute lowest point, he decides to go home, not expecting to be welcomed as a son, just hoping to be hired as a servant. But the text says something remarkable. While the son was still a great way off, the father saw him, ran to him, threw his arms around him, called for a celebration before the son even finished his apology speech. The father was not standing at the door with a clipboard of offenses. He was scanning the horizon, looking, hoping, waiting, ready to run. That is God. Not a God who makes you crawl back. A God who runs toward you while you are still a mess. Most people spend their entire lives thinking they need to clean themselves up before they can come back to God. And that belief, that one mistaken idea, keeps millions of people living in unnecessary shame, unnecessary distance, unnecessary spiritual poverty. You do not have to clean up first. You just have to turn around. Now, here is the third thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. God is not primarily concerned with your behavior. He is concerned with your heart. This surprises people because most of what we call Christianity, or religion in general, focuses almost entirely on what you do and do not do. Do not lie. Do not cheat. Do not lust. Give more. Serve more. Pray more. And none of that is bad advice. But it completely misses the actual point. God is after something deeper than your behavior. He is after your trust. Think about any meaningful relationship in your life. A marriage, a deep friendship, a bond with a parent or child. The foundation of that relationship is not a list of rules both people follow. It is trust. End quote. It is openness. It is knowing and being known. God is not trying to modify your behavior. He is trying to transform your identity. Because here is what He knows that we often forget. When your identity changes, your behavior follows naturally. You do not have to white-knuckle your way through life trying not to sin. When you genuinely understand who you are and whose you are, your desires begin to shift from the inside out. This is why Jesus spent almost no time lecturing people about their moral failures. He spent His time eating with them, sitting with them, asking them questions, seeing them when no one else did. The woman who had been married 5 times and was living with a 6th man, He did not condemn her. He had a conversation with her. The tax collector who had spent his career stealing from his own people, Jesus did not lecture him about financial ethics. He invited himself to dinner. The man everyone called a sinner, left out of the synagogue, left out of society. Jesus healed him before He even asked if the man believed anything. God is not running a behavior modification program. He is in the business of radical, impossible, scandalous restoration. Now, I need to pause here for something that might be the most important thing I say in this entire video. Most people, when they hear this kind of message, have one of 2 reactions. The first reaction is relief, like a weight lifting off their chest, a quiet voice inside that says, "Finally, someone is telling me the truth." End quote. This is what I always hoped God was like. If that is you, I want you to hold on to that feeling, because it is not just emotion, it is recognition. Your spirit is recognizing the truth. The second reaction is resistance. Something inside pushes back and says, "But this sounds too good. If God is really like that, then nothing matters. People will just do whatever they want." If that is you, I want to gently challenge that reaction, because that reaction reveals something fascinating about how we have been trained to think about God. We have been taught, consciously or not, that the only reason people behave well is because they are afraid of punishment, that without fear of divine wrath, humanity descends into chaos. But that is not a picture of love. That is a picture of control. Real love does not demand compliance through fear. Real love draws people in through its own irresistible goodness. And here is the proof that you already know this is true. Think about a person in your life who genuinely loves you. Not someone who controls you, manipulates you, or guilt trips you. Someone who actually, freely, unconditionally loves you. Now ask yourself, do you want to hurt that person? Do you look for ways to take advantage of them? Or does their love actually make you want to be better? Does it draw out something in you that punishment never could? That is exactly how God works. But at an infinite scale, His love is not a leash. It is a light. And people who discover what He is really like do not walk away and live carelessly. They walk away completely changed. Now let us talk about something else most people get wrong, something that causes enormous confusion and pain. God is not the author of your suffering. This is a big one. Because when hard things happen, the almost universal human response is to look up and ask, "Why did you do this to me?" We attribute everything to God: the cancer, the car accident, the financial collapse, the broken marriage, the child who died too soon. And theology often makes this worse by offering hollow phrases like, "Everything happens for a reason," or "God needed another angel," or "This must have been his plan." But there is a problem with this picture. If God causes suffering to teach lessons, then he is using methods that any ethical human teacher would be fired for. If God orchestrates tragedy to build character, then the most devastating losses in history were divinely engineered. And that makes God into something monstrous, not something worth trusting. Here is a different way to see it. We live in a world that is not operating the way it was designed to operate. Brokenness is real. Evil is real. Chaos is real. And the suffering that flows from all of that is real. But God is not the source of the brokenness. He is relentlessly, actively, passionately working against it. The ancient portrait of God is not a distant being sending lightning bolts of consequence. It is a rescuer, a healer, a restorer, someone who enters into the mess, not to explain it, but to redeem it. The most powerful image of God in all of human history is not God on a throne demanding worship. It is God in a broken body on a cross, absorbing the worst that suffering can do, and still saying, "Father, forgive them." That is not a God who sends suffering. That is a God who enters it with you. And here is what that means for your actual life right now. Whatever you are walking through, he is not watching from a distance, calculating how much pain you need to grow. He is in it with you, grieving with you, working in ways you cannot always see to bring something out of the wreckage that the wreckage was never supposed to produce. That does not make the pain go away, but it fundamentally changes who you believe is with you inside it. Now here is the fourth major thing people get wrong, and this one might surprise you the most. God is not obsessed with your sin. He is obsessed with you. Somewhere along the way, the message of God got reduced to this: you are broken. You have failed. You need to do better. And while there is truth buried in that message, the framing is catastrophically backward. Because if you read the ancient texts carefully, if you actually pay attention to what God says about the people he loves, the overwhelming theme is not disappointment. It is delight. There is a line in the Psalms that says God delights in the details of a person's life, not just the spiritual moments, the mundane, ordinary, messy details. There is a prophecy that describes God singing over his people, not lecturing, not correcting, singing with joy. There is a passage that describes God knowing you before you were born, not just knowing about you, knowing you personally, specifically, by name. God is not scanning your life looking for what is wrong. He is looking at you the way a parent looks at a sleeping child, with a kind of love that does not need you to perform to be activated. This does not mean he is blind to brokenness. A loving parent is not blind to when their child is hurting themselves or others, but the motivation is never discussed. It is always love. It is always the deep, aching desire to see you whole. The entire movement of God toward humanity, in every tradition, in every text, in every spiritual encounter recorded across thousands of years of human history, is the movement of a God who is reaching, not a God who is withdrawing. He is not pulling away when you fail. He is leaning in. Now, I want to talk about one final thing, and this is perhaps the most personally significant thing I have said yet. The way you see God determines the way you live your life. This is not abstract theology. This is neuroscience, psychology, and spiritual truth all converging on the same point. If you believe in a God who is angry, you live in fear. If you believe in a God who is distant, you live in loneliness. If you believe in a God who is disappointed, you live in shame. If you believe in a God who is transactional, you live exhausted, always trying to do enough, never sure if you have made the cut. But if you believe in a God who is genuinely, tenderly, unconditionally for you, you live differently. You take risks, you forgive, you extend grace to yourself and to others. You face suffering without being destroyed by it. You get back up when you fall, because you know falling does not change how you are seen. You become, slowly and over time, like the God you believe in. This is why getting this right matters so much, not just for your spiritual life in some abstract, eternal sense, but for your actual, everyday, right now life. The image of God you carry is shaping you constantly, whether you know it or not. So here is the question I want to leave you with. What would change in your life if you fully believed that God was actually like this? Not the version you were handed, not the version shaped by your worst experiences with religious authority, not the version built from guilt and fear and performance, but this version, the one who runs toward you, the one who sings over you, the one who is not managing distance but collapsing it, the one who is not waiting for you to be better but inviting you to experience transformation from the inside out, the one who is not the source of your pain but is in the middle of it with you. What would change? I believe that question is worth sitting with, maybe for a long time, because the truth about what God is really like is not a minor theological detail. It is the most important discovery available to any human being, and most people never make it. Not because it is hidden, but because we stop looking before we find it. Do not stop looking. The real God is far better than the one most people walk away from. And He has been waiting, with more patience and more love than you can currently imagine, for you to discover that. Take your time. Ask your hard questions. Bring your doubts. Bring your disappointment. Bring your anger if you have it. He is not afraid of any of it. And that, more than anything else I have said today, tells you exactly what He is like. Before you go, remember this. God is not who fear told you He was. He is not distant, not waiting to condemn you, but closer than you think, full of love, mercy, and truth. If this video changed how you see God even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Someone else needs this message too. Stay rooted in truth. Keep seeking Him with an open heart and never settle for a shallow understanding of who God is. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.